After going through the part 1 of stages in physical evidence analysis modules, reader might had learned about the initial stages of crime scene investigation like protection of crime scene, recognition and searching of evidences. In the present part 2 of these module, further stages like documentation of crime scene and marking of evidence in physical evidence analysis related to crime scene investigation has been discussed in detail. Reader will become aware about the procedure, how effectively the physical evidence can be documented and marked before they are collected, preserved and packed at the scene of crime. In the present modules, stages in physical evidence analysis 3, the remaining stages of crime scene investigation like collection of evidence, packing of evidence has been discussed in detail. Then afterward, the laboratory investigation started, in which the following stages have been discussed in detail. These are analysis of evidence, interpretation of results and reporting of results and expert testimony in the court of law. Now we will be discussing these stages in detail.
In the earlier module, that is the part 1 and part 2, you have learned about various crime scene investigation stages in physical evidence analysis like protection of crime scene, recognition and searching of evidence, documentation of crime scene and evidences. As well as you also learn about marking of evidence. In this present module, we will learn about the remaining 2 stages in crime scene investigation, which will be discussed along with laboratory investigation stages like analysis of evidence, interpretation of result and reporting of result, as well as the expert testimony in detail. Let us now learn about stages in physical evidence analysis. Initially, a primary survey of scene is conducted to fix the priority of evidence collection. The investigator will identify potentially valuable evidence and will take notes and initial photographs of scene and the evidence to document and record existing condition, such as whether lights of the area were on or off, the exact position of doors, windows, movable furniture, any specific smell present and any other such things like temperature of the scene, etc. During this survey, crime scene investigator may try to create a pathway which will be an evidence-free and lead to the area of interest by conducting a thorough swap for evidence in that area. The following stages of crime scene investigation have been discussed in detail: collection of evidence, packaging of evidence, transportation of the evidence, laboratory investigation, that is the analysis of evidence, interpretation of result, reporting of result and expert testimony. Now let us move on collection of evidence. After recognizing, searching and marking of the evidence, it is essential to complete documentation of these evidences with notes and photography. Then procedure to collect evidences started in a proper way so that they can be successfully analyzed scientifically in the laboratory according to their requirement of the crime scene investigator. Different procedures are available to collect evidences depending upon the nature or type of evidences. Before the procedure to collect diverse kinds of evidences, the following points should be kept in mind. There is no one standard set of procedures for any kind of evidence collection which is applicable to every case, but the approach in a particular case is ultimately depends upon the circumstances to that particular case or on the basis of location of that case, like it is outside or exterior, interior or inside or in a vehicle. Before any item of evidence touched, moved or collected and packed, every corner of the scene has to be documented fully with photographs, sketches and notes. It is also essential to know about the condition of the evidence. either fragile or stable, along with their relationship to the fixed items of the scene and other evidences. Common sense precautions are very vital while collecting evidences. Example, the evidences present at different sites of a crime scene should be collected separately. Certain specific types of evidence require specialized collection procedure. Example, trace evidences, physiological stains and imprints can't be collected in the same way. With the certain types of evidence, consideration needs to be given to collect control, that is known or a blank sample from very close to site from where the evidence has been collected. Controls can be particularly important with respect to fire investigation, trace evidences, blood and different body fluid stains, and items related to the questioned documents. It is important for the investigator has to evaluate the condition existing at the scene, whether they affect the scene or evidence present over there. Scene must be managed in such a way that nothing may alter or contaminate the evidence. The recovery of biological evidences either in a dried or a liquid state should be done in such a way that prevent contamination and degradation, and efforts must be made to ensure their integrity during all phases of investigation. The swabbing collection should be preferred method. If there is any additional processing techniques required for a particular evidence to be conducted at the scene with specialized person only. The following items are required while collecting the evidences from the crime scene and victim: forceps, scissor, glass, woodcutter, cotton, paper and plastic bag, wrapping paper, cardboard boxes, thermometer, hand tools, tweezer, gloves, airtight plastic containers. Finally, to ensure that the scene has been thoroughly searched and all evidences have been documented and collected properly, a secondary survey of that area is required to be conducted as a quality control step. Now, let us see how the packaging of the evidence is done. The collected evidence have to be packed securely to protect and preserve its integrity. In any case, evidence should not be allowed to escape from the container or be exposed to the risk of contamination from the outside. For example, if blood is present on a shirt at 2 or 3 places, it should be folded, packed in such a way that these places having blood stain should not touch each other and should touch to the wall of the container or envelope in which it has been packed. However, the exact type of packaging will depend on the nature and type of the evidence. Volatile evidences such as accelerant residue collected from the scene of suspected arson case must be sealed so that they should not evaporate and become lost. Suitable containers and collection procedure must be adopted to collect the volatile residues. Different items of evidence should not be lumped together in a common package, as this would allow the transfer of evidence to take place between items from different sources. Similarly, folding of a cloth could allow the transfer of evidence from one part of garment to another. This could compromise the value of the evidence in certain reconstruction. So, it is necessary that the items of evidence and the control sample collected from different sites should be packed separately. Wet blood stain or any other body fluid stains having moisture are also subjected to deterioration from microbial action and necessary to retain blood stain pattern on the garments. Due to this reason, blood stained garment should be dried first properly, not in direct sunlight but only in indirect light, and then sealed in an airtight container such as a plastic bag, etc., to avoid its putrefaction to take place. Paper bags and wrapping are much wider choice for packaging of these types of evidences. The paper, being porous in nature, can allow the water vapor to escape and retain the trace evidences. Before completing the crime scene investigation, to sum up, the investigator has to assure the following duties: whether the crime has been committed the crime scene investigator and criminalistics have to travel all around the cities throughout the state or area under jurisdiction. At crime scene, the investigator has to perform the given duties: analysis of crime scene to determine what sort of evidence is present and how these can be collected and packed. Document the crime scene by taking photographs of the crime scene and evidence present there. Prepare sketches of the crime scene by measuring the actual distance between the items of evidence and fixed object. Record the observation and findings related to the location and position of the evidences. Various physical evidences, including the fingerprints, weapons and bodily fluids, needs to be collected and packed properly. Catalog and preserve all the evidences according to their nature to transfer them to forensic lab. Log of all the evidence has been prepared and has to assure that description recorded into the log must match the photos of the evidence taken at the scene, and this description is included in the crime scene report. For example, if a firearm is collected, the serial number of this particular firearm in the log must match the serial number recorded with the close-up photo that was taken at the scene. This exercise will help in establishing the chain of custody of these evidences in the case. Now, next we have the transportation of the evidences. During the packaging of evidences and preparation of log at the scene, some consideration must be given to the transportation of evidence. First, the evidence must be packed in such a way that the fragile items are not damaged during its transportation. At the same time, handling during transit is also important, but more important is adequately secure the packaging of evidences, having proper mounting of items wherever required. Another major consideration is the time. The investigator must evaluate about the nature of the evidence and the time involved in transporting the evidence to the laboratory. Perishable items such as the wet or moist physiological stains must be given special consideration to avoid deterioration and loss of evidential value. If the laboratory is remote, different preparations, packaging and transmittal method would be used from what would be used if it is being sent to local or nearby regional laboratory. When a local lab is being involved or is used, rapid delivery and refrigeration during transit are possible. Thus, if a proper arrangements have been made, wet samples can be submitted. Perishable samples must never be sent to remote laboratories in this condition. In fact, they should not even be sent to the local laboratories unless they are rushed there under refrigeration. Time, temperature and moistures all play crucial roles. Now, let us move to the laboratory investigation. Here we have the analysis of evidence. After proper collection and packaging, the investigating officer should send all properly packed items of evidence to the forensic science laboratory for further examination. Then it is the duty of the lab or the laboratory investigator to provide a proper facility to store evidences properly so that the contamination or degradation of evidence can be prevented. Otherwise, it will affect the analysis of evidence, service quality and reliability of the report in the court of law. As a reliance on scientific methodology in criminal investigations is increasing, laboratories are facing increased workloads. The case is open to the concerned division of the laboratory. Evidences are marked by the investigator so that no confusion to identify the items of evidence take place during and after the examination. The lab investigator decides to conduct the type of analysis for an item of evidence as per the requirement of crime scene investigator or depending upon, like what is the material, what is the nature of the case, what sort of information is sought for, the result or reports to be useful to the criminal justice system. It is mandatory for an investigating officer to send a list of queries along with each and every item of evidence sent for the examination, because he knows better than anybody else what exact information can be useful for further investigation of a particular crime. For example, if a hair is recovered as evidence from a crime scene, then the following specific questions can be made: whether material is hair or not; if hair, whether it is a human; if human, whether it belongs to a male or a female; which side of the body it is from; finally, to whom it belongs. Forensic scientists categorize all the analytical activities in terms of its identification, its individualization, and the reconstruction. In identification, the class characteristics are used to identify the material or object, whereas the individual characteristics helps in individualization process, means to link it to a particular person. The identification refers to establish the identity of an item of the evidence, but in certain circumstances the identification is used to identify a person. Variety of physical evidences has to be identified. In cases like possession of controlled sample, identification of the material is all that required. In many cases of fiber examination, the question fiber can be identified first, then compared to the fibers from a known source to determine if they are originated from the same source. Similarly, in toxicology, the biological samples and food evidences are further examined to establish the presence of poisons and drugs. Another example can be related to the red material recovered from the scene, whether it is blood or not. Usually, various kinds of questions can be answered after conducting further tests for the class and individual characteristics of the item or material and compared with those of known specimen of the same class. Individualization is another important but difficult dimension of a forensic science that make it unique among the sciences. Methods and techniques is constantly being improved to detect very small but critical differences in a similar type of materials. In the biological materials, inherent various differences are identified in different people. Still, there are kinds of evidence where true individualization is not possible or different degree of individualization can be achieved. However, some can give more information if it is not so absolute. The serology or DNA unit is one of the most important units in any forensic laboratory, which is responsible for identifying as well as individualizing the biological materials, evidences originated from crimes against person and property. CODIS, that is Combined DNA Index System, which is an effective tool for solving crimes, is a very useful blend of forensic science and computer technology. Like identification, individualization involves comparison of individual characteristics rather than the class characteristics. These characteristics of the evidence can also be used to exclude the possibility of common origin. This kind of information is helpful during the investigation. Now, let us learn about the reconstruction of crime scene. The scientific analysis of physical evidence, deductive examination, and their interrelationships helps the investigator in deciding what actually took place in a case and what the possible sequence of events was. According to the Association of Crime Scene Reconstruction, crime scene reconstruction is the use of scientific methods, physical evidences, deductive and inductive reasoning to understand the series of events that lead to the occurrence of a crime. Eyewitness to most of the events are not available, but wherever present, they are notoriously unreliable, or it is sometimes not possible to accurately remember what they have seen. It becomes even more problematic if recollection of witnesses changes under certain condition like stress or interrogation without the witness even realizing it. With the passage of time, it becomes difficult to accurate recollection, and moreover their perspective and biasness on the incident, their vision and ability to remember details and sequences of event influence the capability to remember. Reconstruction of any event starts when the investigator takes his first survey or walk through the crime scene and start building a rough hypothesis. A hypothesis indicates a set of ideas or a broad picture of what might have happened. It can't be considered a theory until incorporating all the available physical evidences and supporting information. So, a successful reconstruction depends upon the experience of the investigator, keen observation and open-mindedness of the investigator, logic of the investigator, critical evaluation of the witness statement, ready to set aside any hypothesis which does not fit exactly with the actual available evidences, must have rational mind to interpret and assembling various evidences. It is advisable to make effort to reconstruct the event based upon the physical evidences involved and their scientific analysis, laboratory results of patterns of various stains and proper documentation of the scene. Anything added to or removed from the scene, anything moved or changed can and will change the interpretation in a reconstruction. So, in reconstructing the scene, not any one piece of evidence is more relevant or more important than other. Every piece of evidence is important in crime scene reconstruction. In some cases, the reconstruction is a very complex task, but in other cases, reconstruction can be simple, involving only a single article of the evidence. Due to the lack of proper documentation of the crime scene, sometimes potential reconstruction cannot be accomplished. Remember, there is only one opportunity to secure, preserve and document the crime scene evidences. Errors made at this stage of the investigation are usually irreparable. Now, let us see the interpretation of result. It is mandatory to analyze the negative and positive control along with the sample received from the crime scene. After completing the required analysis, the result need to be interpreted by the forensic scientist. It must be appreciated that analysis and interpretation are quite different from each other. Scientists most often have concurrence on the result of the analysis, but usually diverge on the interpretation of the result. A reconstruction of any event is always based upon the interpretation of the physical evidence analysis. Irrespective, the type of examination yields a series of observation or measurements of the properties like physical or chemical and relationships, if any. These measurements can be direct, example length, mass, volume, or indirect like blood and its enzyme type, spectral properties, refractive index and density, etc. The observation of the result have to be interpreted into a form which is consistent with all the data available and should provide valuable information about the situation being investigated. In certain circumstances, the difference between the examination and interpretation is obvious once the analysis is finished. For example, a blood or semen stain is recovered from the crime scene, may be examined in the lab, found to be a human and to have a set blood groups or enzyme type possessed by 1/3 of the total population. If a suspect has all those same blood and enzyme types, it means only that the blood may have come from the particular suspect. Similarly, a latent fingerprint developed at a scene may later be matched to belong to suspect X. This fact demonstrates only the suspect was present at the scene at the same time. It does not say anything about when or why. Now, next we have the reporting result and expert testimony. After completing the analysis of physical evidence and interpretation of their result, It is duty of the forensic scientist to communicate his finding to the investigating officer, attorney and judiciary. This crucial job demands the highly technical and complex information have to be translated into a simple, understandable set of facts and conclusions. The judiciary and other can appreciate the results and conclusions mentioned in an expert testimony in much better way if specialized and technical terminology is avoided or minimized as far as possible. Every effort has to be made to express the finding in such a way that even non-specialists can understand the report. The language in a report has to be simple as possible, and expert testimony tends to be most informative and expressive of all the results before the court of law. A court always gives a bit more latitude to the expert witness as compared to the other witness. According to the rules of evidence, a witness can testify only those facts which are known to him or her. Ordinary witness can testify their opinion based on scientific observations of facts, but these impressions have to be open to judgment against a background of ordinary experience. Hence, a witness can testify to a person's identity, to the color and the morphology of an object, or to the exact distance between two objects and with fixed object. On the other hand, an expert witness having scientific or specialized knowledge or experience can offer an explanation for scientific examination and more logical explanation of a particular issue. A qualified expert who has been demonstrated to the court to have skill, knowledge or experience beyond that of a layperson may give an opinion to the court which is relevant to the scientific examination conducted in the laboratory and to the facts of the case. In India, courts have developed criteria for admissibility of the expert report based on scientific test, procedure and their results. Still, if any question related to the admissibility of a scientific evidence arises, then the final decision can be taken by considering the Daubert's guideline to solve the problem. The court has discretion to admit the results of the experimental procedure which has been devised or modified to meet the requirement of a particular problem. Such procedures have to be based on accepted analytical principles, however, and a proper foundation must be set down for them. Expert witness, while presenting the report to the jury, make every effort to help them in understanding examination of a physical evidence made and conclusion drawn in a particular case. Expert can sometimes be drawn to complex technical discussions in the court, but even under these circumstances, one must take time and try to explain the answers completely and with satisfaction to the jury. Now, let us move to the continuity in the chain of custody. Chain of custody is a well-known concept nowadays, very significant part of criminal proceedings. But until recent year, it was unfamiliar to civil litigators for the eventual admissibility of an item of evidence in judicial proceedings. Chain of custody is the most essential to be maintained. It should not move until documented completely. Otherwise, the chain of custody has been considered broken and a court may subsequently rule that the evidence are tainted and declared inadmissible. Proper care must be taken to record custody information along with the person handling at every stage of evidence. The less number of people involved in this process, the easier it will be to keep the track of the chain of custody. To sum up the forensic laboratories, the laboratory investigator has to perform the following duties. As per the requirement, proper chemical, biological and physical analysis on evidence received from crime scene. If required, experts in a specialized field such as the ballistics, question document, fingerprint, serologist, toxicologist and odontologist etc. can be conducted. Interpret the result of scientific analysis to explore the possibility to establish the link between suspects and the crime scene or a victim. Track chain of custody of the evidences. Finally, reconstruction of crime by arranging the sequence of events. Now student, let us summarize what we have learned in this module. After recognizing, searching and marking of the evidence, it is essential to complete documentation of these evidences with notes and photography. Then procedure to collect evidences started in a proper way so that they can be successfully analyzed scientifically in the laboratory according to their requirement of the crime scene investigator. Reconstruction of any event starts when the investigator takes his first survey or walk through the scene and starts building up a rough hypothesis. The serology DNA unit is one of the most important units in any forensic laboratory, which is responsible for identifying as well as individualizing the biological materials, evidences originated from the crime against persons and the property. Proper care must be taken to record custody information along with the person handling at every stage of evidence. The less the number of people involved in this process, the easier it will be to keep track of the chain of custody.